Wow, BKFC fighter Noah Cutter is really ready for his fight against Kaleb Harris. He plans to knock him out and outclass him. I've got this story next. Hey there, Bare Knuckle News fans. Look who's joining me in the Bare Knuckle News studio today. Noah Cutter has a big fight coming up against Kaleb Harris at BKFC 16. How are you doing today, Noah?
I'm great, Susan. How are you?
I am great. So how have you changed your training camp up specifically to prepare for Kaleb?
Well, since we're going down in a weight class, not just for Kaleb himself, but since I'm going down in weight to lower than what I did my previous two fights at, we're doing more cardio and pushing the conditioning a little bit harder, focusing less on the power and more on the precision and the amount and the output. And like I said, also changing up the cardio and adding more cardio, which has been just helpful in losing the weight. The weight's just naturally be coming off since I added more cardio to my regimen. So that's some of the things we're doing. Technique, we're working a couple things special for him in the gym, but to deal with his style. But as far as training wise, that's what we're changing up to get ready for him in this weight class.
Have you ever fought at this lower weight class before?
Yeah, I actually did. I've never done a fight at 165 pounds. When I did mixed martial arts as an amateur and a professional, I fought at 170 the majority of my time. I did two fights at 155 pounds when I was a professional MMA, when I was doing professional MMA. And I took one of the worst injuries as well when I did those fights because I was just too depleted. And with my size and my structure, I thought 155 would be a good answer for where I was at in my career at that time. But it turned out to be worse for me and on my body going down to that low weight. So I've gone down as low as 155. So I understand really well what it takes to do to my body to get me conditioned and walking around naturally to fight at what weight classes. So this will be my first dip at 165, but depending on how it goes, I could see myself staying there for the next few BKFC fights.
Good for you. It's so important, and what the fans need to realize is that fighting at the proper weight class is really critical. Let's talk a little bit about that because it's so draining on your body, and people really, a lot of the fight is your preparation, and these weight cuts can be awfully hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's exactly just that. At that time in my mixed martial arts career, I thought that going down in weight was the answer to the problems that I was having. And when I got down there, it turned out to not actually be the case. I was just fine at the weight that I was at. And then going down just made it even harder on my body and made my body overall a little bit more brittle. And that's why I received a broken rib in my last fight that I did there, which was like one of the worst injuries I ever had in MMA. And I believe it's because I didn't have that extra 10 pounds or 15 or 20 pounds of muscle armor around my body that's required to stabilize your structure. And it can make a big difference in that aspect. And not only just in the actual weight cut itself and bleeding your body down, an excessive amount over an evening, but also the overall, I believe you become a little bit more brittle, when you, like I said, you shrink that muscular wrapping around your body, that everything that protects your vital organs and your ribs and things like that, and you become a little bit more susceptible to damage.
Noah, Kaleb has been in BKFC for a while. There's a lot of video out there of him fighting. Have you looked at any of the video, and how do you think you match up style-wise with him?
I've watched a lot of his fights when they happen. I honestly, like every evening, I'm going to get around to watching the fights. I'm going to get around to watching the fights, and then I don't ever do it. But I've seen his fights, and I actually watched his last fight live in Oxford, Mississippi. Before I even did my Toe the Line debut, I went ahead and shot up there and watched his fight with Elvin live. So I already, especially seeing that one live and hearing it and seeing it and hearing what his coaches were telling him in between rounds and being able to get that knowledge, I have a really good idea of what kind of a fighter he is and what his style is and what the game plan probably is and what his game plan for me probably is. So my conditioning is great already. So not having to lose a lot of weight, not having to do like a fight camp to get ready for the fight. My conditioning was already at that of, I wouldn't say ready for a fight, but it was much higher than just sitting around on the couch waiting for something to happen. So with that being the case and my weight being good and my conditioning being good, these last few weeks, I'm able to watch his fights, watch the technique, and then work a little bit more specific stuff in the gym just for him.
How do you want to start the fight?
Everybody knows from my first two fights that I start my first rounds hard. I start fast. I don't believe in a filling out process in BKFC. I think that's folklore. That's people that believe that you need to take a whole round to feel somebody out. I can feel somebody out with my fist. So I'm going to start fast.
Speaking of fighting, in the Kaine Tomlinson Sr. fight at Toe the Line, you threw a lot of punches.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm speaking on. That first round, both the first rounds in both my bare knuckle fights, I threw a lot. And I also learned from that, even with it being my win, I realized that maybe turn the volume down a little bit or just make the punches count a little bit more. But yeah, I throw a lot of volume and I condition myself to be able to throw a lot of volume. And so at this weight class, I don't know, I might be able to throw the same amount of volume and not even get tired. So we'll see. I'm coming to throw a lot. I like to set records. And I think in Biloxi, I watch fights in Biloxi or in Mississippi, and they have the strike count and the strikes thrown and the percentage that you hit. So I'm really excited to see what kind of numbers I'm putting out at 165 pounds in a 2-minute round.
Now, we just spoke about your win with Kaine Tomlinson Sr., but unfortunately you had a loss at your last fight. But what have you learned from that loss that you can take with you and use in this fight against Kaleb?
Yeah, the last fight was a loss, but a lot of people that watched the fight and that saw it, and a lot of people that know that I kind of won that fight before I lost it with that second knockdown. I almost had him out of there, and it was a little bit of a long count, but Frank was able to fight back and keep going after he was already very hurt, and his conditioning was better than mine because my conditioning declined while his increased over the next 2 rounds. And, he always had, he was hitting me with big shots the entire fight. My face, I won the first round, but my face was cut up. I dropped him 2 times, but my face was cut up. He hits hard. He's a hit hard. Frank is like 6'4" and fights at 170 in MMA, and he hits very hard. And so he always had the power to knock me out or put me away. He didn't even knock me out when he did finish me. He hit me and busted my lip wide open. And, when I got up and the ref asked me if I could continue, I thought the fight I figured he would have stopped it because the lip injury was so, you just can't continue on fighting with something like that, my lip hanging off my face. So, getting tired is what lost me that fight. It's not a knock on Frank or anything like that. He's a great fighter, and he got me, what I'm saying, because he caught me not moving because I got too tired to move out of the way of it. And I ate that shot straight to the face and I couldn't continue. And that was pretty much all there is to it. And he could. So we're plugging up that hole in the game. I had some problems going into that fight as well, where I wasn't fighting at 100% that night. So
interesting.
At this lower weight class, we're plugging up the cardio and the conditioning issue, and it's not going to be an issue anymore. And, if Francesco wasn't able to knock me out when I was dead tired, then Kaleb isn't going to knock me out when I'm fresh. It's just not going to happen.
So have you been in contact with him?
Yeah. I talk to Frank every once in a while. He's doing good. There were some complications. He had to go to the hospital from a hematoma in his throat and things like that. But he healed up well, and we still communicate. And it's pretty, it's not even pretty much. It's just like before the fight, no hard feelings, and we get along well, and there's lots of respect there, and there's even more respect now that we fought each other. So, yeah, I get along well with Frank. I wish him and his team the best of luck, and hopefully, I know he plans to get back into mixed martial arts and maybe even BKFC, so we'll see where he goes, and I wish him all the best in the future.
Why will you be the fighter that has your hand raised?
I'm just going to, make him. The best way I could put it is not even that I'm going to make him quit, but I believe that I've got, I saw a post where he said he won't be outworked, but I'm not going to have to outwork him. It's not going to be a matter of conditioning or who's going to get tired first or who can go the 5 rounds better. I'm going to outclass him, and I'm going to knock him out, and I'm going to put him away for the first time in his career. And that's just all there is to it. I have the power and the precision to do it. And like I said, now that I'm not going to get tired, I'm going to start dropping him in the first round, and I'm not going to stop dropping him as many rounds as it takes. He's going to go down, and it's going to be on him to get back up and push through.
What, in your opinion, makes a good fighter?
Just, you got to be absolutely dedicated to this craft, and you have to really love it, and you have to be willing to, just like a business, when you start a new business, you have to be willing to get into it for the first years knowing you're going to get absolutely nothing in return. And if you're getting into mixed martial arts because you want to, I hear people say all the time that have never even stepped into a gym, they're like, oh, you're a fighter. I thought about being a fighter. I heard there's a lot of money in that. And it's like, oh, really? You've never even hit a bag, and you've thought about being a professional mixed martial artist and making a career boxing or bare knuckle boxing or doing mixed martial. You're delusional. You have no idea the dedication and the heartache that goes into this stuff. So the dedication and the hard work and the real desire to succeed is what makes a good fighter.
Noah, you are so right. In fact, so many times, by the time people kind of get hyped on a fighter, they don't realize that that fighter has been fighting for years just to make it to that spot and get the W.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into this. I just had someone comment online, not mean-spirited or anything, but they were like commented on a sponsorship that I received, and they're like, oh, I'd love to get sponsorships like that. And that was my response was, yeah, it only took me 9 years of doing mixed martial arts and bare knuckle boxing to finally be able to get a sponsor like this. So it does take a lot. And it's just, people don't realize the amount of dedication and lost time and sacrifice and pain and things like that go into it. And like I said, if you think you're just going to get into it and come in here and make money and talk and run your mouth and get real big fights and get big opportunities, then like I said, you're really delusional because you have no idea what it's like.
So true. So very true. Before we go today, Noah, is there anything else you would like to add? And please give us your social media handles.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Susan for having me on the show today. It's always fun. Thank you to my family and my friends, everybody supporting me. You can follow me on Instagram. It's at Noah S. Cutter on Instagram. And my fan Facebook page is at Noah Cutter on Facebook. I'll say shout out and thanks to all the guys at GOAT, my management team, those guys over there doing their thing. I'd like to say thanks to Training is Ritual, my apparel sponsor, who's going to be making my walkout shirts and my fight shorts and maybe this nice little custom hoodie that they got for me for sale on his website. So go check them out. I want to say thank you to Turp House Clear down in Miami. Thank you to CBD, Fusion CBD products. They're big, friends of the show and organization and good sponsors. Thank you to Makotech Mouth Guards, does my mouth guards. Mary Jane's House of Glass just came through with a sponsorship and a gift pack for me. Thank you to them. My brother-in-law's tattoo shop, Red Level Tattoo in Crestview, Florida. Thank you to them and all the work he just did on my calves. You guys are going to see at the fight my new calf pieces. And I want to say thank you to Wyatt Martin and Associates Tax Service over in Fort Walton Beach, who's going to be doing my taxes this year for me. And the information is on my social media for all those guys. So thank you to everybody.
All right, Noah, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with Bare Knuckle News today. And I also want to thank Scott and Vince over at the GOAT Combat Agency for helping me set up this interview with you. I also want to wish you good luck and tell our fans that we will be in Biloxi bringing you all the beautiful bloody action. I'm Susan Cingari, and remember, no one beats us to the punch.